Well, hello. Welcome to the Brand Marketing Show and Happy New Year. This is our first episode for 2026, which I'm still, of course, getting used to saying that year. I'm sure we all are. I'm your host, Kath Langman. And if you are listening to this in January, first of all, congratulations on surviving Q4. I mean, seriously, take a moment if you haven't already through the last couple of weeks. It's a lot when you are working and running a business in e-commerce to make it through Black Friday, the Christmas rush, shipping deadlines, customers who are frantic, and some of you doing end of year or Boxing Day sales, and then all of that kind of stuff. The whole will it arrive in time panic from customers, and probably about 27 moments where you kind of question every life decision that led you to running an e-commerce business. So yes, you're here, you're still standing, and that is not nothing. And also spare a thought for those business owners. I know a few of our clients being amongst them who run businesses in a product category that have big back to school promos. For some of you, this is the busiest month of the year, even more so than November. So keep standing, keep putting one foot in front of the other, if that is you. But for the rest of us, January is usually supposed to be about goal setting. It's the whole new year, new you energy. It's the time where most businesses and business podcasts, including historically this one, tells you to really look at your numbers and to look ahead and set revenue targets for the year and to map out your marketing calendar and basically plan your way to world domination. And I'm certainly not here today about to tell you that planning doesn't matter. It definitely does. And I love a good plan, and I love to be looking ahead and envisioning the future for my business and helping clients to do that too. But really, what I want to talk about today is what if most of us, most of you, are starting your planning in completely the wrong place? And what if the reason that so many brand owners end up exhausted, burnt out, uh, desperately needing a month off, quietly resentful of the business they built, is because they planned for the wrong thing? And I know quite a few business owners that message might be resonating with right about now. So I want you to stay with me because what I share with you today is really what I've been reflecting on over the last few weeks and months. And this might change how you approach the entire year, but certainly your planning process right now. But let's start with where you probably are right now, because Q4 is a pretty brutal experience for most e-commerce brands. Even when it goes well, I mean, especially when it goes well, it really takes everything out of you. The late nights, the constant monitoring, the inventory stress, the customer service volume, the feeling that you can't step away for even a second because something might go wrong. And then January hits and everyone's like, so what are your big goals for this year? And you're just sitting there thinking, mate, I just want to sleep for a week. And so, if that's you, here's what I've noticed about working with hundreds of brand owners over the years, probably thousands actually. January often feels like being asked to run another marathon the day after you finished one. Your tank is empty, your brain is foggy, and yet there's this kind of pressure, internal and external, to have it all figured out, to set those really ambitious targets, to be super excited and motivated and energetic and ready to crush it. But what if that pressure is actually part of the problem? And what if the reason that you ended up so exhausted in Q4 is because of how you planned at the start of the year? So what I mean is this, like most people, business owners, entrepreneurs, they'll sit down to plan their year, and the first question they ask is, what do I want to achieve? And usually that means a revenue number and a percentage of growth, right? Sometimes it also includes a profit margin, but often that is not entering into this goal setting equation at the beginning. And of course, those things matter. And I don't want you to get me wrong here. You are running a business, not a charity, and that does mean that we do need to take the revenue and hopefully profit growth goals in mind, right? We need to think about that. But however, how do what about the first question actually being, and this is what most business owners that I've met over many years don't ask first, is how do I want to feel this year? How do I want this year to feel? Which might sound a little bit woo-woo or a little bit soft, a little bit, the opposite of being a hard-nosed business question. So bear with me, but think about it this way. You could hit that $1 million in revenue this year or whatever the target is for you, depending on where you are in your growth. It could be 500,000, could be 5 million, whatever. The figure sounds great, really impressive number. But what if hitting that $1 million a year meant working 70-hour weeks, constant stress and anxiety, missing your kids' school events, never taking a proper holiday, lurching from crisis to crisis, ending December even more exhausted than you are right now? And, if that's what it might take, is that actually success? Or what if you hit slightly less revenue, maybe 900,000 instead of 1 million, but you did it with systems that actually work, a team that supports you, customers who are genuinely lovely, weekends that feel like weekends, energy left over for the people and the things that you love, and ending December feeling really proud and sustainable? Which year would you rather have? And of course, the number doesn't tell the whole story. It never does. And yet we keep planning like the number is the only thing that matters. But here's the thing, it's not your fault if you've been planning this way. You've literally been taught to do it. All of us have. I certainly learned that when I was at university doing my commerce degree back in late 90s. Every business course, every marketing guru, every podcast episode about scaling usually focuses on numbers, revenue, growth rate, customer acquisition cost, return on ad spend, and all of that stuff is important. I'm certainly not saying ignore your metrics. If any of you have known me or listened to this podcast for very long, you'll know I love my metrics and I love my spreadsheets and all of that good stuff. But somewhere along the line, it's become really common to treat metrics as the goal instead of the indicators of whether we're achieving the actual goal. And the actual goal for most of us, if we're honest, is freedom. Freedom to do the work we're proud of, freedom to spend time with the people we love, freedom to not be constantly stressed and reactive, freedom to build something sustainable, not something that just looks good on Instagram. And, a preferable alternative for working for someone else if you're the entrepreneurs amongst my listeners. And when you plan for revenue without planning for how you want to feel, then you often end up optimizing for the wrong things. You take on customers who aren't a good fit because they'll hit your revenue target. You run promotions that damage your brand because they'll spike your sales numbers. You say yes to opportunities that drain you because they look good on paper. You build a business that looks successful to everyone else, but it feels like a prison. Does that sound familiar to you? If not, kudos to you, and I'm going to cheer you all the way. But I know for many it will be sounding familiar, and this episode is for you. Even if you are not in this position and you are running the most sustainable, energetically balanced business that you love, you're still going to get value from this episode. So stay tuned. However, before I get to some advice, like I usually like to share, I'm going to put my randy pants on. Bear with me because this is important. If you've opened your inbox or scrolled social media at all yet this month, you've probably been bombarded with messages like 10x your revenue in 2026, or this one strategy made me $1 million, or scale to 7 figures in 90 days, or the secret the gurus don't want you to know. I'm sure you know the kind of content that I mean here. And I get it. These messages are everywhere, especially at this time of the year, because they work. They are designed to hit you right in the insecurity. right in that January feeling of I should be doing more and everyone else is figuring it out except me. But if we can just be honest for a second, I mean, it's almost always rubbish. I've been in this industry for more than 2 decades, and I, you know what I've noticed about these revolutionary strategies that promised overnight transformation? I mean, this is as old as business, right? They almost always boil down to the same two things: spend more on ads and run more sales promos. That's the secret. It's like the carpet shop that's always running a closing down sale. The digital version of that is pump more money into Facebook and Google, slash your prices, and watch the revenue numbers go up. And, sure, the revenue numbers are likely to go up. That's not a lie. But you know what else happens? Your profit margins get destroyed. You attract these bargain hunters who are never going to buy at, full price or close to full price ever again. You train your customers to wait for these discounts. You erode the brand value that you've spent years building, and you end up working harder than ever just to stand still. But here's the thing. The guru doesn't show you that part. They show you the revenue screenshot. They show you the hockey stick graph. They don't show you the profit and loss statements, 6 months later when reality hits and you haven't got anything left over in your bank account at the end of the month. And guess what? I haven't even got to the worst part yet. The worst part is how a lot of these people are operating. And I hear stories from brand owners all the time. And look, I experienced this too in the very early days of my first e-commerce brand business, my modern cloth nappy brand. And, they hired someone who promised them the world, usually some guy with a flashy website and a lot of confidence. And the experience was, a little lacking. And, by not great, I mean actively awful. They were talked down to, condescended to, made to feel like they didn't understand their own business. And when they raised concerns, like legitimate concerns, like why has my website disappeared from Google, or why are we attracting customers who only buy on discount, they were dismissed. Don't worry about it. Trust the process. You just don't understand the algorithm. This is what works. I know what I'm doing. Literally, one of our clients told me her previous marketing guy said to her, "You hired me, remember? Let me do my job." And, essentially butt out, as if asking questions about your own business is somehow out of line. I kind of call this the bro marketer phenomenon. It's not, that's not a label that everyone uses, of course, but it is fairly rampant. You're probably going to recognize it. These are people who've learned one playbook, usually, spend big on advertising, run aggressive promotions, chase revenue at all costs, and they apply it to every single business, regardless of whether it makes sense. Premium artisan skincare brand, same playbook. Sustainable homewares, same playbook. Handcrafted jewelry with a meaningful story, same playbook. Insert whatever artisan or sustainable or premium quality or unique brand here, and it'll be the same playbook. And when it doesn't work, because of course it doesn't work for everyone, and if you run that kind of a brand, you are not selling $15 t-shirts on a race to the bottom. I mean, guess who gets blamed in that scenario? You do. Oh, your product isn't right for the market, or your prices are too high, or your audience just isn't buying. It's never my cookie cutter approach doesn't work for your business. And that lack of accountability honestly makes my blood boil. But here's what I want you to know, and what I know to be true. You understand your business better than any outside expert ever will, and your instincts matter. Your concerns are always valid. And if someone makes you feel stupid for asking questions, that's not expertise, that's ego. It's so similar, isn't it, to those of you who are parents. And, for me, I'm a mother, and that mother's instinct, even if you're not a medical professional, it's like you just know when something's not right with your kid. And if you ever take them to the GP or something like that and you just get dismissed, it's that kind of feeling. It's not nice. And so I'm going to step off my platform. I'm going to step off my high horse now. But when you are planning your year and you're getting bombarded with these big promises from people who want to sell you their proven system, I just want you to be a tiny bit skeptical and ask yourself, is this actually right for my brand? Or is this a one-size-fits-all approach being marketed as something custom? Or is it even just, like something common being dressed up as a silver bullet because it's what I want to hear right now, because I'm tired and I don't have the energy to really think of it myself? Honestly, if anyone ever makes you feel like your questions are a problem, you definitely should run in entirely the opposite direction. What I want to propose today is a different starting point for your 2026 planning. Before you ever write down a single revenue target, and definitely before you buy into anyone's 10x your business program, I want you to answer some questions. And first is, how do you want to feel in December 2026, or quite frankly, January 2027, this time next year? Not what you want to have achieved monetarily as the first question. How do you want to feel? Do you want to feel energized or exhausted, in control or constantly reactive, proud of how you grew or just relieved that you survived, excited about your business or quietly resentful? And, do you want to feel like you have a life outside of work, or like work has consumed everything? And I want you to get really specific and write it down. This is your actual destination. And literally, if you are the business owner, it's your business. You can do whatever you want, right? Second question, what kind of customers do you want to be serving? Which is an interesting one. I don't think many people start out in business in the beginning thinking that there are different kinds of customers. It's like somebody buys, pays you for your goods, and that's it. Every customer often gets treated as the same thing in the beginning. But it is a really important question, I think, and it's something that a lot of business owners skip. As a side note, if you haven't listened to, there's an episode last year where I interviewed Dr. Ross Honeywell, and the episode was something about the right customers, attracting the right customers, or the damage of attracting the wrong customers. You definitely want to give that one a listen. I might link to it in the show notes if you haven't, so that you can go back and listen to it. But, at the end of the day, the question is this: do you want customers who value what you do or constantly question your prices? Or are you are a joy to interact with or drain your energy? Or, customers who become genuine fans or just buy once and disappear? Maybe customers who found you because they love your brand or because you had the biggest discount. The customers that you attract are going to be a direct result of how you market, and the wrong customers can make even a successful business miserable to run. Any of you who hate opening the customer service inbox because it's a really unpleasant experience would know exactly what I'm talking about here. Third question you want to ask yourself is, what does sustainable growth actually look like for your business and for your life? Not somebody else's business or life, not what the gurus say you should aim for, but for you. Maybe you've got young kids and need flexibility, or maybe you are caring for some aging parents, or maybe you have some health considerations, or maybe you just literally want to have more free time and space to do other things at the same time as building your business. Maybe you do actually want to gun it super hard and you're happy to roll up your sleeves and put your head down and bum up and work really hard. Whatever you actually want, all of those things are valid, right? And they should be considered, and they should shape your plan. I know I'm thinking of one of our clients at the moment who we've been working with for about 3 years, maybe even a little bit longer now. And she used to think that she wanted to scale really, really fast, and she actually could. She's got an incredible brand, incredible products. She's got lots of products in the pipeline. She's got, a really loyal customer base. She's got a fantastic network of wholesale stockists as well. So it's a really, really solid business, but she actually doesn't want to scale super, super fast because she doesn't want to have the stress of funding all of the production and the ad spend and the building the team and the infrastructure that it's going to require to scale faster. She is scaling year on year. She's had amazing growth, but it's not that kind of hockey stick, exponential curve. She also has some elderly parents who are unwell, and she has, other responsibilities in life and likes to travel as well. And so she's super, super happy with the way she's running things now and that kind of growth curve. So the reality is, if that's what you want, there isn't a point in setting a goal that requires you to work 80 hours a week if you know that that's not sustainable for you. Either, you're going to burn out and fail, or you're going to miss out on other things in life that are super important to you. And, neither of those are going to be good outcomes for you. I also want to talk about the premium brand advantage, because this is, I want to connect it to something that we do talk about a fair bit here at Productpreneur Marketing. And if you have been following me for a while, you know that I am super passionate about helping brands attract customers who really do value the uniqueness and quality that your brand and products deliver over the cheapest price in your product category. And customers who don't need to be convinced with discounts, and customers who become genuine advocates. And here's what I've really realized over time. Building a premium brand isn't just better for your profit margins. It actually can feel, it's better for how your business feels to run. That's been my experience, and I'm observing it a lot in others as well. And if you think about it, when you're constantly competing on price, when you're in a race to the bottom, you do tend to attract bargain hunters who will leave your business the moment somebody else offers them 5% less. So that ends up training customers to just wait for those big discount sales, and it erodes your brand value with every single big discount that you offer. And running that kind of business and brand feels exhausting. And to me, it feels a little bit demoralizing, and it also feels unsustainable as well. But when you build a brand that attracts people who really genuinely value what you do, everything shifts. Your customers are nicer to deal with. They leave better reviews. They tell their friends about you. They don't haggle or complain about prices to the same degree. They actually appreciate the work that you put into your products. And when you do extend an offer, they react like you've given them a gift, and it improves the relationship with your customers rather than the opposite. Same revenue potentially, but completely different experience. So when you are doing your planning, whether it's this month or not, don't just think about how much you want to sell or how much revenue or profit you want to make. Think about who you want to sell to and how you want those relationships to feel. And this, by the way, is exactly why the spend more, discount harder playbook is so dangerous for this kind of a brand. It actively attracts the wrong customers and repels the right ones. And those bro marketers just don't understand this because they've never bothered to understand your business, and they just apply their cookie cutter formula and move on to the next client. So what this looks like in practice, because of course I always want to make things practical, here's how I would suggest approaching your 2026 planning perhaps differently to how you might have done it in the past. Step one, of course, is to start with that feeling. Grab a journal, maybe open a Google Doc, maybe even open your Claude.ai chat if you have dived into that, or ChatGPT, whatever it is. Write it out in detail and what you want your December 2026 to feel like, not what you want to have achieved yet, how you want to feel by the end of the year. And really get specific. I mean, maybe it's like, I want to feel calm and in control. I want to be closing my laptop at 5 p.m. I don't want to be working on weekends. I want to be really present with my friends and family. I want to be, whatever it is for you, right? Write it down. And then step two is to work backwards from there. Now ask, what needs to be true for me to feel that way? Maybe you need better systems so that you're not, firefighting constantly. Maybe you need to raise your prices a bit so that you can serve fewer customers better. I, years and years ago, when I was at the start of my career after finishing university, I had a boss who literally said that if he found a competitor that had higher prices, he was going to put his prices up. And it worked. It was like a 9-figure a year business, that one. Anywho, maybe you need to stop running sales that attracts the wrong people. Maybe you need to hire support so that you're not doing everything yourself and driving yourself into exhaustion. Maybe you need to fire some customers who are draining your energy, or stop bending over backwards and apologizing to the customers who are draining your energy. This is where your actual goals can come from, not from those arbitrary revenue targets alone, but what needs to be true for your business to feel the way you want it to feel. And then step 3 is then you set your numbers. Once you know what kind of a business that you're building and how you want it to feel, now you can set your revenue and profit targets. But notice how they come third, not first, because they're in service of the bigger vision and not the other way around. And honestly, you might find that your number targets are actually more realistic this way because they're based on what's actually sustainable for you and not what some guru said that you should be aiming for. And you know what happens when things are, it's still ambitious, but it's achievable and you do actually achieve those goals. You know what happens then? It makes you feel really, really good. I mean, how demoralizing is it when you don't achieve whatever goals that you have? It makes you feel negative, whereas when you do achieve things, it makes you feel energized and positive and really successful. And that kind of sense of achievement is going to help you to feel the way you want to feel at the end of the year. I also want to address something here because I know some of you are probably thinking it at this point. There's a voice in the back of your head. Maybe it sounds like a business coach you once had, or a podcast host you used to listen to, or one of those Facebook ads promising 7 figures, and it's saying, this sounds like Kat's telling me to aim lower, to not be ambitious, to settle. And I want to be really clear here. That is not what I'm saying. I am an ambitious person myself, and I think that it's important as entrepreneurs to aim to create something that is a stretch for ourselves. Otherwise, things get super boring, right? We're entrepreneurs usually because we're creative people. So I'm definitely not saying to aim low. What I am saying is that ambition without sustainability isn't ambitious, it's self-destructive. And I've seen too many brand owners hit big numbers and be absolutely miserable, or be working hard to hit big numbers and burn out and be absolutely miserable because they're burnt out, but also because they didn't achieve the goals. And I've even seen people build these successful businesses, successful in the eyes of other people, that they just hate. And I've seen entrepreneurs achieve everything they thought they wanted and then realize it wasn't what they wanted at all. And ultimately, that's not success. That's just a trap. Real ambition, in my view, is building something that's both successful and sustainable, something that you're proud of, something that supports your life instead of consuming it. And that requires planning differently. It requires starting with how you want to feel and not just what you want to achieve. The hustle trap tells you that exhaustion is part of the price of success, that if you're not grinding, that you're not committed, that sleep is for the weak and boundaries are for people who don't want it badly enough. And I'm here to tell you that that's absolute rubbish. You can build an incredible brand without destroying yourself in the process, but you have to plan for it intentionally or it won't happen by accident. And you definitely won't get there by following that kind of cookie cutter playbook designed for a completely different kind of business. I want to share a bit of what this looks like for me. And since obviously I'm doing this exercise too, when I think about how I want December 2026 to feel, here's what comes up for me. I want to feel like my team is really thriving. I want to feel like we're doing work we're genuinely proud of, with clients that we genuinely like. This is how it's been for the last few years. We do have a cohort of clients. We don't have a massive roster of clients because we're not a massive business. And we enjoy working with everyone that we work with. People we don't enjoy working with, they don't last here. I want to feel like I have energy at the end of the day and week. I want to, reach Friday evenings and just really feel like, I can reflect on the week and feel satisfied, and to be able to therefore mentally and physically relax into the weekend and enjoy my time with family and friends. I have a little bit of a process weekly that, starts on a Sunday evening and sets myself up to have that experience at the end of the week. And it works every time. I want to feel like we've grown, but sustainably. So certainly not aiming for that 10x overnight or 12-month, transformation, because I don't want to put in the kind of work that it would take to get to that. I want to feel like the brands that we work with are building something real, and it's not, not chasing vanity metrics, but also not chasing building revenue success at the expense of other things. And by other things, I'm also taking into account, like, I don't want to be working with businesses that are selling stuff that's going to damage the environment or be exclusionary or, I'm sure you get the drift. And you know what? All of that kind of vision shapes the decisions that we make here. And it's why we're really careful about which clients that we take on. We could absolutely grow faster if we said yes to everyone, but we'd also be pretty miserable. And so would our clients, because we just wouldn't be the right fit for them. And of course, that's why we don't do cookie cutter strategies as well. We're super hands-on, we're very collaborative, but our approach takes more time. At the same time, that personalized approach gets better results and it feels better for everyone involved. And it's why we actually listen when clients raise concerns instead of dismissing them. If something feels wrong to you, that matters. And your instincts are data points that help us to learn your brand, right? When we work with somebody new, we don't know their business or brand yet, and that's that learning experience. And we listen to clients so that we can learn and from them. They're the ones that know their brand the best, right? It's also why we focus on working with the brands that we do, the premium ones, the unique ones, the innovative ones, the artisan ones, the sustainable, eco-friendly ones. Working with people who value that these qualities attracts a certain kind of energy that makes the work that we do really, really enjoyable. So your vision is going to be different from mine, but the principle is the same. When you get really clear on how you want things to feel, the decisions that you need to make become really clearer as well. So here's my challenge to you as we kick off 2026. Before you finalize any revenue targets and your marketing calendar, your growth projections, or definitely before you buy anyone's proven system or secret strategy that promises to 10x your results overnight, sit with the feeling question. Sit with how you want this year to feel, what you want to experience in your business, and the lifestyle that you want as a business owner, and not just what you want to achieve from a monetary perspective. What kind of business would you be excited and motivated and energized to run, not just be successful at running? And get clear on all of that first and write it down and let it be the guide for everything that comes after, because you didn't start your business to just be exhausted and miserable. I'm sure you started it because you had a vision of something better. So let's make sure that your 2026 plan actually leads there. And then, of course, dive into the metrics and the revenue and the profit and all of that kind of, growth related numbers. If you do want a little bit of help getting clear on this and figuring out what it looks like for your specific brand, you can jump on one of our complimentary growth strategy sessions this month. They're going to be with me this month. Then, of course, they're not sales pitches. They're, those genuine conversations that we love to have about your vision and what needs to happen to help you get there. And I also wanted to just let you know, this definitely would not be a sales pitch because we are fully booked for clients at the moment, but we do have a wait list for clients that might want to work with us from February or March onwards. However, I will still be offering these strategy sessions this month. It's my way of helping you to get really crystal clear on your direction for this year before we may or may not work together. So you can find the link to book into my calendar in the podcast show notes, or just head to productpreneurmarketing.com and you'll find our Let's Talk link in the top menu. But that's it for today's episode, our first one of the year. Thank you for listening, and I, as always, look forward to being in your ears again next week. Bye for now.